one of my thoughts is just with I guess I'll pose it as a question. With did you ever see a scene? Did it get in the first season or two to John chapter 8 and the woman caught in adultery? Is that depicted?
I haven't seen that yet. No.
Okay, but you said you saw the scene of John chapter 4, right? With the Samaritan woman. Is
Correct.
that right?
Yes.
But how did they? You gave us a little bit of detail in regards to John 3 with Nicodemus, but with the Samaritan woman, I perceive you are a prophet. You've had 5 husbands. The man you're now with is not your husband. How did you said they switched the order of the language there? How did they depict that?
Well, it was the dialogue between Jesus and Nicodemus where they're switching the order of things, which really very much changed the message. Yeah, things were moved around with the woman at the well as well. One of the things I remember happening is that when Jesus does reveal to her that he's a prophet, saying to her, you've had 5 husbands and the man that you're with now is not your husband. And she says, oh, I see you're a prophet and you're to preach at me. And he said, no. Yeah, that's exactly why he was there. He was there to preach and lead an entire town to a knowledge of who he was. And all of this flows through the text. When you read John 2, of Jesus purging the temple and then doing miracles, and there were people that wanted to be around Jesus because he was doing miracles. At the end of chapter 2, it says, but Jesus did not entrust himself to them because he knew what was in the heart of man. So then you go right from that into the story of Jesus and Nicodemus. And Nicodemus is not coming to Jesus as some good faith actor, just asking some questions because I want to be a believer, but I need to get all this stuff straight. Nicodemus does not believe Jesus is the Christ. And Jesus doesn't reveal himself to Nicodemus as the Christ. When he talks about the Son of Man, when he says, just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted up. Jesus used that language, did not personally apply it to himself directly because he was not revealing to Nicodemus that he was the Son of Man. And Nicodemus, in his clouded judgment, wouldn't have recognized that anyway. But then you go from that story into John 4, with Jesus and the woman at the well, and while he would not reveal who he was to the Jews, here he is in Samaria, and he reveals who he is to this woman who goes back into town, tells everybody, could this be the Christ? He stays there for 2 days. He preaches the gospel to them, and they say, now we know that this is the Christ because we have heard it for ourselves, not just because of what the woman had said, but because they heard it for themselves. That's not depicted in the show. The very last scene of season 1 is that encounter with the Samaritan woman at the well. So when you start season 2, you're picking up in Sychar with Jesus ministering there as he, as the season would have finished with that exchange at the well of Jacob. And when you're watching it in the show, he's there for like several days. I was trying to figure out if they put a timeline on it. It almost seemed like it was several weeks when the scripture says he was there for 2 days. And he's also seen like helping people with daily chores. So they're trying to show Jesus being like hands and feet and look at how charitable he was. That wasn't what he did. He preached. He preached to them for 2 days. And in Mark, he even tells Peter, let's go to the other towns to preach because that's what I came out to do. So they diminish the fact that Jesus is there to preach. He tells the woman that I'm not going to preach at you. They show him in Sychar, and yeah, he does a little bit of preaching in Sychar, but he also is doing all these, chores and work and trying to help people and things like that. And that's not what's depicted in the text. So over and over again, you're seeing this diminishing of the importance of the words of what Christ actually said and how people came to faith through what he said, and instead are trying to throw, a works righteousness into this testimony of Jesus that they're giving.